Loft 100 Studios, the Big Biz Show, and our affiliates and our hosts are not registered investment advisors or broker-dealers.
Our show hosts make no commitment that the purchase of securities of companies profiled or otherwise mentioned in our programming
are suitable or advisable for any person, or that an investment in such securities will be profitable in general.
Given the nature of the companies profiled and a lack of an active trading market for their securities, investing is highly speculative and carries a high degree of risk.
We profile selected publicly traded and privately held companies on our program.
Specific questions on comp and...
Most of these companies that we profile have provided compensation to Loft 100 Studios and its hosts for the profile coverage.
From time to time, we sell shares of the companies profiled in the open market that we receive as compensation for coverage of client companies.
But never sell stock if we are speaking about interviewing or covering a public company who has paid us compensation.
Specific questions.
Specific questions on compensation can be directed to producer@sullyentertainmentgroup.com.
Listeners should verify all claims and do their own due diligence before purchasing any securities mentioned on this program.
Investing in securities is speculative and carries a high degree of risk. We encourage our listeners to invest carefully and read the investor information available at the websites on the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, at sec.gov, or the Financial Industry Regulatory Authority, FINRA, at finra.org.
Welcome aboard.
Hey there! Live from the Loft 100 Studios, 110 million TV homes strong, 150 radio stations. Let's not forget an American Forces Radio Network in 175 countries and all the ships at sea. Big Biz Show's on the air. Great to have you along today. There we go. Jim Mish, CEO of 22nd Century Group. Lots of big news out in the last couple of days regarding stock symbol XXII, and it's a great story. They are a leading agricultural biotechnical company focusing on tobacco harm reduction. This is combustible cigarettes that help you smoke less. That's what the FDA makes them put on their packaging, and they are taking the U.S. and the world by storm by going into more and more markets, more and more states. And if I'm not mistaken, was Montana the state today? Do I have that right, Jim? Did I read that correctly? Was today Montana? Is that what we picked up?
Hey guys, good to see you. Yes, today we announced our ninth state. You know, we're targeting 18 by the end of the year, so we're tracking really well. But Montana we announced today, and into the major convenience store in Montana is Town Pump. So we're in all their stores, and we're really excited to partner up with them as well. So we're continue to expand all around.
When you talk about, Jim, I want to talk about a couple of press releases that you had come out, because you had a lot of big press come out, including distribution here today as well. But when you talk about expanding the model, expanding the business, it's not just the product; it's getting it out there, right? Distribution is key on this thing. So talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we've been at this for really about 9 months now in a very aggressive fashion. And to date, we have the top 4 national distributors that distribute combustible cigarettes into these convenience stores around the country. So the top 4 signed up very quickly. We also announced 2 days ago a distributor by the name of Hub, which is a major Midwestern distributor, to reinforce that area, as it also gets us into some of the tribal nations. Mm-hmm. So we're becoming more free to talk about some of these things. So again, the top 4 distributors nationally, major Midwestern one, Hub, just 2 days ago, Montana being the 9th state. And on top of that, we're in the top 2 convenience stores, I can now say 7-Eleven and Circle K, amongst others. So the state-by-state expansion continues. The feedback, testimonials continue to look very positive. So we just continue to execute on our plan.
Hey, James, when you move into a new state, who do you first contact about getting in there?
Well, the process really starts at the Attorney General's office. So you have to get permission from the Attorney General to sell these types of products in a state. From there, you get into distribution, into the convenience stores. Then you really start hitting the media circuit, because what we found out that the awareness of the product just a little bit of education of how the product works and the clinical information that it's, the product does in fact work quite well for dramatic reduction in cigarette smoked is the process. So we really hone in then on earned media with our convenience store partners in that area, and then drives them to the convenience store where there's a lot of in-store marketing that takes over from there.
Yeah, the in-store marketing is key on this thing, especially as we're moving into, armed forces that we talked about several months ago and moving towards, because it's all about getting eyeballs on this thing, because the will to quit smoking has never been higher, especially according to the FDA's recent studies. And of course, the FDA has doubled down on their tobacco cessation sort of programs, and they've actually asked you to put on your combustible cigarette packaging modified risk tobacco product on one line, and then helps you smoke less, correct?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. I mean, it's amazing to know that there's still 35 million some odd smokers in the U.S. Roughly 70% of them want to quit. They've tried, they failed, they needed a new tool. This product's been authorized by the FDA in clinical trials to show dramatic reduction in stick smoke.
Sure.
That it qualifies for a reduced risk product, and then this MRTP as the marketing authorization, and then on that package we're mandated to say helps you smoke less because the clinical trials are so compelling.
Yeah, James, if you talk about in terms of resistance with states, is any states giving us resistance with respect to distribution here?
Not at all. If anything, the convenience store chains are trying to get us into more states. We're trying to stay really focused on these first 18 because they cover more than half of the U.S. market. So it's very much a pull effort on the state basis. The states are moving. California, for example, has already banned menthol combustible regular cigarettes. We're working for our exemption in the state of California. That alone is a $2 billion menthol market, or was a $2 billion menthol market that has a void. New York, Massachusetts moving in that area. So the FDA is moving on a federal level. They plan on announcing a proposed rule here in August within about 6 weeks. They've doubled down on that. They're also talking about this nicotine mandate to reduce it to levels of the VLN product, which we're obviously have our one and only MRTP.
Right.
And the states are moving at the same time. So a lot of catalysts around here, but most importantly, the biggest catalyst we have is the consumer uptake. As soon as the consumer is aware of it, they try it, the product works within a relatively short period of time, helps them out, and they tell their friends and so on and so forth. So that's the biggest growth catalyst we've got.
James, is there ever going to be an international push on this thing? I mean, it seems like the natural progression for this, right?
Yeah, we have not ignored the international side. So we've got pilots now going on in Japan, South Korea, and Switzerland for starters. And obviously working very closely with the New Zealand authorities, who's already put a law into place that goes into effect in early 2025, banning all higher nicotine cigarettes. And the spec that they've put out there, the standard, it matches the MRTP of VLN. So I could very well put VLN as the only combustible cigarette in the entire New Zealand market, which is about the size of the state of California, about a $2 billion per year market.
Hey, James, first of all, Jim Mish is our guest. He's the CEO of 22nd Century Group. As you can see the stock symbol there, XXII. Jim, let's talk about the hemp business. We don't ever get a chance to talk much about this because it's, you guys are all about improving health and wellness through plant science. Talk about your hemp side of things.
Yeah, so on the hemp cannabis side, we've built a very unique value chain. So we serve brands. We're not a branded company. We want to serve brands going into pharmaceutical and medical and adult use and consumer products, both on CBD and also Delta-8 and also THC, where regulated around the world. So what we do is we start with understanding how these products work. We call that receptor science. We're the only ones in the world who can describe to a consumer and to our customers, how do these products work? How do they create anti-inflammation? How do they make you less anxious, et cetera? We've got great genetics that boost the levels of cannabinoids, make them more potent. We're the world's largest ingredient supplier of CBD and other cannabinoids as well. Then we go into further production, contract manufacturing, helping them make their gummies better, their vapes better, their edibles better out of our CDMO in Las Vegas. Then ultimately, where it all comes together, where our tobacco business and our cannabis business come together, the same distributors that we've signed up for VLN are also moving other brands for us that we do a full CDMO plus D event. And those are brands like Cookies, very well known on the West Coast there, and brands like Old Pal and others that we're signing up.
Jim, last of all, and I only got about 30 seconds left. First of all, it's great having you here. We can't wait to get you to come back to San Diego again and come take a visit. Talk to us about what's next for the rest of the year for you. Is it main distribution?
It's laser focused. The entire system is in place, but getting into those other 9 states and continuing to drive the ramp up in the where we've planted our flag.
Jim Mish, XXII is the stock symbol. 22nd Century is the name of the company. Thanks, Jim. Appreciate it once again. CEO. It keeps on getting better.
Love that guy.
Check out the last couple press releases. Some big stuff the last 48 hours. Once again, 22nd Century, XXII is that stock symbol. All right, everything you wanted to know about LiDAR coming up next. Sully, Costa, Big Biz Show continues. Stand by.